Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving deep into one of the biggest ideas from Yuval Noah Harari's incredible book, Sapiens. We're going to uncover the one secret that turned our ancestors from, just some insignificant apes into the rulers of the entire planet. And trust me, the answer is probably not what you're thinking.
Okay, so let's jump right in with a puzzle. Think about this. What does a giant corporation, say a car company like Peugeot, have in common with money, like the US dollar, and a whole nation, like the United States? I mean, these are massive, powerful forces that shape our everyday lives. But what's the connection? They seem completely different, right? Well, as we're about to see, they are all built from the exact same, uniquely human, raw material.
Now, to solve that puzzle, we've got to understand this huge paradox at the heart of our own species. See, for most of human history, we were nothing special. Seriously, just another ape, not particularly strong, kind of stuck in the middle of the food chain. So the real question is, how on earth did we get from that to where we are today?
All right, let's rewind the clock. And I mean way, way back. Because for millions of years, the story of humanity, it wasn't a story of triumph. It was a story of just kind of getting by.
Sure, we had these big brains, we were making stone tools, but that didn't automatically put us at the top. Not even close. We spent our time living in constant fear of predators. We hardly ever hunted big game. Instead, we survived on leftovers from what other, much stronger animals killed. We were scavengers, not the kings of the savannah, that's for sure.
So, what was the game changer? What changed everything? Well, the secret wasn't about our hands or our tools. It was about our voices. Around 70,000 years ago, something absolutely incredible happened. It's called the cognitive revolution, and it gave us a brand new superpower.
Now look, other animals can communicate, right? Of course they can. A monkey can yell, "Hey, watch out, lion!" and the whole group runs up a tree. Super useful. But it's really limited to what's happening right here, right now.
But this new Sapiens language, it was a total game changer. It allowed for amazing detail, letting us share huge amounts of information about each other and the world. It wasn't just lion anymore. It was, hey, this morning down by the bend in the river, I saw that old lion with the one eye, and he was tracking a whole herd of bison. You know what that is? That's gossip, and it's what started to glue us together in much larger groups.
But listen, this is the most crucial part. The real breakthrough wasn't just talking about real things, like lions and rivers. It was the ability to talk about things that don't exist at all. Things that exist only in our collective imagination. This, right here, is the secret ingredient. This is where our journey to rule the planet really kicks off.
So let's dig into that. Let's see how this incredible ability to talk about fiction became humanity's greatest superpower, this sort of mythical glue that holds our entire world together.
Harari has a great name for these shared fictions. He calls them imagined realities. And they're not things you can physically touch or see, like a rock or a tree. Nope, they are concepts that only exist because a huge number of us agree to believe in them.
And this is a really, really important point. An imagined reality, it's not the same as a lie. A lie is simple. I tell you there's a lion by the river when I know perfectly well there isn't one. But an imagined reality, that's when everybody believes there's a lion by the river, and that collective belief makes it real in its consequences. People will act as if it's there.
And once you see it, you realize these fictions are absolutely everywhere. They are the very fabric of our society. Think about it, a corporation like Peugeot. It's not the factories or the cars, it's a legal story that we all agree to believe in. The US dollar? It's just a piece of paper or a number on a screen. It only has value because we all believe it does. Human rights? They aren't a physical part of our DNA. They're a powerful story we've agreed to uphold as a universal truth.
Here's a simple way to think about the power of this. Back in the day, an ancient hunter-gatherer could make a flint spearhead pretty much on their own, or maybe with a little help from a few family members. Cooperation was limited to the small number of people you actually knew and trusted face to face. But now, think about building something like a nuclear warhead. That takes millions of complete strangers cooperating across the entire globe. You've got miners digging up uranium in one country, engineers in a lab in another, politicians funding the whole thing with money that's just an idea. So what makes it all possible? What lets all those strangers trust each other and work together? It's their shared belief in these imagined realities. Nations, money, corporations, laws, the whole shebang. Okay, so this ability to get millions of strangers to cooperate is clearly our greatest strength. But, and this is a big but, that same mythical glue has a really dark side, because the same stories that bring us together can also be used to tear us apart.
This quote from the ancient Code of Hammurabi, it's a perfect and frankly a chilling example of this. It shows you exactly how these imagined orders are used to create and justify social hierarchies. The law literally says that the value of one person's eye is different from another's, based on their social rank. Now that's not a biological fact. It's a story, a powerful fiction designed to organize and control an entire society by making inequality seem natural.
And so many of the hierarchies we see throughout history, based on wealth or race or gender, they're often justified as being natural or inevitable. You hear people say, well, that's just the way things are. But Harari argues that's just not true. They are almost always just incredibly powerful stories. Fictions that maybe started by some historical accident, but then got told over and over and over for centuries until they became real enough to shape the lives of billions.
And that brings us to the final and honestly, probably the most mind-bending part of this whole idea. For thousands of years, we've been using these stories to change the world around us. And what happens when we start turning that power inward to change ourselves?
You see, for most of history, our most powerful stories were about gods, spirits, and great forces that were way beyond our control. But today, a new story is taken center stage, and it's arguably the most powerful one yet. The story of science. And this story, well, it doesn't just promise to explain the world. It promises to give us the power to rewrite it, to give us almost godlike abilities.
Just take the ancient human quest for immortality. 4,000 years ago, you have the story of Gilgamesh. He goes on this epic journey to try and live forever, and he fails. The lesson of the myth was clear. Death is just part of being human. But fast forward to today, and what Harari calls the Gilgamesh Project isn't a myth anymore. It's a real-world, multi-billion-dollar scientific goal. We have labs right now working to stop aging and maybe even defeat death itself.
We are getting startlingly close to replacing natural selection with intelligent design. But not the intelligent design of some god in the sky, our own. We are literally moving from a world shaped by millions of years of random, blind evolution to a world shaped by our own conscious, deliberate choices. This is the ultimate use of our power to create stories.
So it all comes full circle. This one-of-a-kind ability to create and believe in fictions is what took us from scavenging on the savannah to walking on the moon. It's what gave us mastery over the entire planet. But now, as we stand on the edge of becoming creators ourselves, of becoming like the gods we once imagined, the question Harari leaves us with is, well, it's a heavy one. We invented gods and money and nations in our imagination. Now we're on the verge of creating and redesigning life itself. So, what stories are we going to tell next? And maybe more importantly, what kind of creatures will those new stories turn us into?